you ever driven a Porsche, Jordan?
I have. I used to have one, and then
I bought it from him. It was a 924, so it wasn't real.
Fast little car. It was fast. Oh, yeah. But it was throaty and it was loud and.
Like, it was fun to be on the freeway going like super fast, and you're still just in fourth gear, and you hit the gas and it goes even faster, and then you have a whole nother gear left.
Oh my God. I rented one for 5 days. Cayman GTS. And the funniest thing was, it's my wife's birthday, and I got it around my wife's birthday, and it's her birthday. I'm like, let's go take the Porsche out. You drive. So I hand her the keys. She gets in. Start driving. It's a stick shift. Of course, you have to get a stick shift.
Of course.
It's no fun. So we start driving. She gets on the freeway ramp, and she's driving at 60 miles an hour. And she's just driving it, and she's like, can I be honest? Honestly, I think a Ford Mustang is more fun to drive, is what she tells me.
That's blasphemy.
I'm like, you haven't tried this thing yet. She's like, no, I'm driving it. I'm like, no. Take it off the freeway, go up in the mountains, and then drive it. And as soon as she got off, she puts it in like third gear. She's driving at like 40 miles an hour. I'm like, okay, go back to the second gear and pump this baby. And pump it through the entire corner. It doesn't care. It stays on. She's like, you're freaking kidding me. So she starts pumping the gas. And after like the fourth corner, mind you, she has motion sickness, but this woman was driving like a maniac in this Porsche. She was going off. She's like, this is so much fun. This thing won't budge. It just stays. It stays on
rails.
Road.
On rails.
Eyes on rails.
Oh my God.
Yep. That's my favorite car.
Fun. So
by the
fun.
end of it, she was taking corners at like 60 miles an hour. She was like loving it.
She's like, we got to get one of these. Like, yeah.
Yes.
We all have dreams to aspire to. It's great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, just want to welcome you all back to the Should Be Common Knowledge podcast. I'm moderating today. Again, my name is Jonathan, and I'm here with Luke.
Hi, I'm Luke.
And JP.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome back.
And we want to welcome you here to the podcast. This is episode 2. We're excited to move this right along and explore some new amazing topics with you guys each episode. Hope you've been enjoying the topics so far. Please let us know if you want to hear about some new things or different things. Reach out to us on our social media at SBCK Podcast. Definitely check it out. We'd love to hear from you. Any ideas, any thoughts on the show, please leave some comments. Definitely fun to interact with you there as well.
Actually, our listeners probably don't know that you guys are brothers, but Jonathan and Jordan are brothers, and I got added by your guys' mom on Instagram.
Nice.
She sent a very sweet message to me. She said, hello, Luke. I love the new podcast, and I'm thrilled that you are Jonathan's good friend. He speaks so highly of you and your family. I hope we will meet one day. So I sent back, hi, Louise. Thank you so much for your kind words. Really appreciate it. Jonathan is a wonderful man and a dear friend. I hope to meet you and your entire family one day. It would mean a lot to me. You all are such wonderful people.
Awesome. Oh, nice. Yeah, she's a great lady. So we'll definitely have to do a road trip out there.
Definitely. So she replied, it will happen if ever you come to or through St. George. I have a guest room for you and your wife.
Awesome.
Yes, you wouldn't want to stay with us because it's loud and crazy with all the kids. She has a guest room that is the most comfortable bed you'll ever sleep in, and you will go to sleep and not wake up till noon the next day.
That's great. That's what.
And it will be dead quiet, nice and cool, and just yes.
It's like a desert oasis there. Like we call it the spa house. It's great. Which is awesome.
Views. They look awesome. The views look awesome.
Oh yeah, that desert life, Yeah, it's beautiful. It's so fun. It's so great to go there and see. Well, that's cool. I'm so glad that she connected with you.
You had the nephews over.
Yeah, I did. So they just left yesterday. Actually, they're out here for 3 days. We were doing the whole San Francisco tourist thing, cruising around, hitting up some of their favorite spots. And, well, it's nice now that they've already seen most of the tourist things, so we can do some other things. Go hit up some of their favorite food places. We played some disc golf in Golden Gate Park. We played mini golf down at Ghirardelli. And we also went kayaking on the bay up in Sausalito, which was amazing. If you've never done that, we saw seals and porpoise like dolphins, a lot of birds and things. And yeah, it was pretty amazing. Such a great views of the city. So much fun. I definitely recommend. And a good workout, especially when the wind picks up. What have you been up to, JP?
Oh, what have we been up to? Nothing. Just another round of COVID. Anderson had it, and we just keep cycling through the family. So we're hoping to be clear of that by the weekend, so we can get out of the house again. So looking forward to that.
It's like the things the kids bring home from school, right?
Yes. Welcome back to school. Thank you. I think that's just going to be a reoccurring theme all year. That's just going to keep on popping up. But
everyone stay well and healthy. Yeah.
So it doesn't affect the little ones too much. So far so good.
Oh, that's good. I hope they're doing all right. Well, it's nice to get together again for sure. How are things settling in your new place, Luke?
Good. It's been a lot. The last 2 weeks has been moving basically, and I started a new job, so both happening at the same time. We're getting settled in. We moved a lot of stuff tonight again. Hopefully by the weekend it'll be all done. We have to hand over the keys back of the old place, so we're moving along.
Oh, that moving process, the move out, then you got to go clean the old place, which is always fun, and then unpack the new place. But it is kind of fun getting a new routine and a new neighborhood, finding new spots. It's kind of like that travel JP was talking about last time when he said, when you get to a new place, you explore the neighborhood, right?
Good
Pretty
thing
awesome.
Is it's a 4-minute commute to my office from here.
Wow, you can't beat that.
That's pretty good. And it's only 10 minutes away from the old place, so not too bad.
Oh, that's perfect. Well, I'm glad it went well. Today we will be looking as we usually do first for our first topic, which is our person, place, or thing, which this week is brought to you by JP. And again, with this segment, the other two of us don't know really what it's about at all. So I guess it's kind of like Stump the Chumps, but maybe not. See if we know what he's talking about and see if you do too. So we'll hand it on over to JP for this week's person, place, or thing. Take it away.
Hey, well, I wanted to, after last week's little bit of travel, I was in the mood and just kind of thinking, okay, so what I did was I have a whole bunch. I mean, I could go on and on for favorite places and places I want to talk about. But I really kind of didn't want to jump for some of my favorites right off the bat. We've got a lot of episodes to fill in the future, so I want to save some of that. But what I did do was I just opened up my phone, went to my Google Maps, and if you're like me, maybe you guys mark your Google Maps and drop little pins, hey, places you've been, things you want to go see again, or
I definitely do that.
And so I'm definitely thinking I have the travel itch and the bug to get to Europe soon. I can't wait to get back to Europe. And so I just opened it up and I have a whole bunch of pins over Europe, and I just started, zooming in and just zooming in on my phone just to some of these pins that I've dropped. And one of these pins, first, I had no idea where this was. I'm like, why did I pin this? Where is this? And I kept going in and in and in. And so I ended up at a spot where I've placed a pin, and that's what our place is going to be today. So I'm not going to tell you right off the bat where it is. I'm just going to almost 20 question this one with you guys. But I'm going to give you one first clue that on its face, I think you should absolutely just guess it, but there's no reason why you should guess it. But I'm just going to give it a try. And I'm not much of a riddle person or anything, but this place, when you go here, you were most definitely always on time.
On time. Switzerland, I'm thinking clocks.
On
Birds.
time, I'm thinking.
You're on the right path. Okay.
I'm thinking like some line on the map, maybe.
Okay.
Greenwich,
Literally.
maybe.
What did you say?
Greenwich.
Of course. There we go. Ding, ding,
Aha!
ding.
Bing, bing.
Yes, Greenwich. You know, I don't remember ever putting a pin on Greenwich. I'm not sure why, but it zoomed in there enough, and there it was. I'm like, that is a fantastic little place to go visit when you happen to be in London. I love Greenwich, and if you have not been there, it is absolutely, I think, a must on any visit, because of course it is the prime meridian. Right there located in Greenwich next to the Royal Observatory, right there in the garden. So of course, that's where I came up with, you are literally standing, you are on time. You're standing right on the prime meridian right there. But it's just a wonderful little borough outside of London. Beautiful parks, some of the best views that you're going to find looking back at the city. Just one of my favorite places to visit when I'm in London. So have either of you two been?
I have. It was a beautiful spot. I've been there a few times, actually. That's probably why I guess it's so quickly. The way I would recommend seeing it is from downtown, taking a boat, and you end up right there. They have the big Cutty Sark boat right there, right at where you land. And you can go see it, and you wander around. And like you said, the big Maritime Museum is there, which is really cool. And they have all these old ships and things in there. And then there's this huge park going up this hill to the observatory on top. And where you're on top, you can stand right 1 foot in either, like, is it each hemisphere, I believe? Or it's right at where the time zones begin or whatnot.
It's where they count that as far as zero. So
yeah,
we're going either way, Greenwich Mean Time. And really, I mean, it's based on the Naval College and being able to navigate the ships. They needed to pick a time, and that's where they placed it. But now they have the National Maritime Museum is there, which is a fabulous museum. The Royal Observatory, and then, like you said, those parks with One Tree Hill. If you walk up there, has some of the best views of the city that you'll find anywhere, and it's just a fabulous place to relax. Luke, have you ever been there?
No, I haven't. I've heard a lot about it. I recall one of the Dan Brown books. I'm not going to quote any because I forgot which one it was, but they talk about the meridian, and they talk about that they first thought it was in Paris a long time ago. They call it the Rose Ligne, and it was the Rose Line, and that was where the original meridian was. And then they did some more research and found out that it wasn't there, and it was in Greenwich. So in the book, I think they go
was it the Da Vinci Code? One of those, yeah.
Yeah, one of those. I forgot which one, but they talk about that a lot. And the other thing that I was, funnily enough, watching this week, I was watching Pawn Stars, and they had an episode where one of them had a clock that they would set to Greenwich Mean Time, and they would take it on a boat and to see what time it was there, to have, like, because you could use the sun for east and west, but for north and south, they would use this clock and then the sun to distinct what their coordinates would be. So that's pretty cool about Greenwich.
Just in relation to Greenwich time and the sun to figure out what their local time was. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And so it's a wonderful place. And what I would suggest, the best time, really every time I've gone there was after, being in London for 3-4 days and having walked for miles and really trying to think of, what can I do that I'm not going to have to walk all day long? It's just a great place. Like Jonathan said, go down to Westminster, just go down to the pier down there next to the London Eye, buy a ticket, hop on a boat. It's a wonderful boat ride up the Thames, go past the, all through the city of London, under the Tower Bridge, all the way around past the Canary Wharf, and end up at Greenwich. It's a fabulous boat ride, and it's a great way to just relax and see the city from a different angle. Really just enjoy yourself. There is also a great, next to the Cutty Sark, they do have the Greenwich Market, Great little covered market, lots of food stalls, crafts.
Yeah, I remember good food over
Just some
there
great stuff.
down the side street.
Yep.
Yeah.
Some really great little pubs, as well as just some nice markets and some great food. So it's just a great afternoon. You don't even have to spend all day there, but it's just a great afternoon trip. Very enjoyable. And just walking around the old Naval College, just a great place overall. So not something that everyone goes to, but I think definitely worth a visit if you have time. So next time you're in London, check it out and take a look. We'd love to hear your comments. Post some pictures. If you've been there, post your pictures. Let us know how you liked it. We'd love to hear about your trips.
All right, perfect. Well, that is our first place in our person placer thing in the episode. So we'll keep more coming in that rotation and look for that segment going forward. Definitely fun to be taken to a random spot, person, or thing. Let's see now. So now we will pivot over to our main topic. This is our main dose of common knowledge brought to you this week by Luke, who will be guiding us through this portion of the conversation. As you know, or may not know, if this is your first episode, we definitely have a topic that we find interesting or something we want to explore further or that we love that you should know and talk about that. And so this week, Luke will take it away for our dose of common knowledge.
Awesome. Thank you for that introduction, Jonathan. Yeah, this week I wanted to do something more on the knowledge base. I don't know a lot about it, but I know that there's a lot of, what do you call that, synchrony there when it comes to American history. You guys grew up here, you probably have a ton of knowledge on that. So I thought that would be a great learning experience for me and probably all of our fellow listeners. But as I mentioned before, I'm originally from the Netherlands, and there's a rich history there between America and the Netherlands, which I will showcase as well. So I wanted to start off with basically the beginning of it, which is taking us back to 1626. Peter Minuit obtained the island of Manhattan from the Native Americans in exchange for goods, with a total value of 60 guilders, which amounts to $24 in today's date and age. That's a pretty cheap sale, if you ask me.
Oh, definitely.
And then we of course started in Manhattan. We started with New Amsterdam, which we later traded off with the English for Suriname, which was a long-lasting colony of the Netherlands and the Kingdom of the Netherlands until 1975. But coming back to that, you'll see a lot of Dutch history and Dutch heritage embedded in basically in American history, parts of which, starting with New Amsterdam, there's the boroughs, there's Brooklyn, which is named after a city in the Netherlands called Breukelen. There's Wall Street, which I also didn't know before, but Walstraat is a street in Amsterdam itself, also known as the red light district these days.
Oh, yeah.
That's what Wall Street is named after. Then there's Stuyvesant, the Bronx, which is named after the Dutch settler Jonas Bronck. Staten Island, I didn't know this one either. It's named after the Dutch Parliament, the Staten-Generaal. So Staten is Staten Island. Harlem is named after the Dutch city of Haarlem. And this one I found extremely funny, and I didn't know that either. Coney Island is named after Konijnen Eiland, and Konijnen Island translates to Rabbit Island.
Interesting. And
Rabbit
now they go
Island,
there,
okay.
and now they go there and have hot dog eating contests at Coney Island in New York.
And the last part in Queens, Flushing, which is Vlissingen, which is a city in the south part of the Netherlands in Zeeland. So that's how some of the places even in New York are named nowadays after some Dutch heritage. And then I wanted to go to some presidents. Martin van Buren was of Dutch descent. Even Theodore Roosevelt, the 26th president, Roosevelt is most famous for his personality, his vast range of interests and achievements, but apparently he was also of Dutch descent. And then it comes down to some of the things that I know that you might be surprised with, some words in English nowadays. There's one that I wanted to start off with, which is a little disputed, but the dollar that we know nowadays, some say it comes from the Dutch word daalder. Daalder means 2.5 guilders. And that was when the dollar was initiated, that was the price it was. So 2.5 guilders would be $1. So that's dollar. If you say it fast enough in English, it becomes dollar. That's one of them. The other one is that it's from a German thing called Thaler. And I don't know. I like the one that it's dollar to dollar.
Not biased
No,
at all.
I was gonna say
obvious
no
reasons.
bias at all from our Dutch friend. You own the dollar; it's all yours.
So a couple other ones that I found very interesting. Boss comes from the word baas, which means the exact same thing in Dutch as well. I think one of that I found very interesting is Yankee. So in Dutch, if you're Dutch, the most common names you would find is Jan and Kees. And if you combine them, it becomes Jan Kees, which sounds like Yankees.
Oh, interesting.
Apparently, oh yeah, Santa Claus is the big one because it's Sinterklaas. That's what it's named after. Was a holy man dressed in red. And we still celebrate that. His birthday is on December 5th. So he's not our Santa Claus in that sense, but we do celebrate his birthday still. Bluffing is definitely a Dutch word. We use it in the exact same context. Rucksack, we say rugzak, which means backpack. Frolic comes from vrolijk, which means to be happy, to be joyful. And iceberg. Berg is Dutch for mountain, so ice mountain.
Sounds a lot like the German one as well, iceberg.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Just to think about, because Luke and I always talk about those kind of things with the origins of words and what's this like in German and what's this like in for like this word is similar in English and German or Danish or Swedish, and which ones are similar, which ones aren't, which is from like Germanic, which is from like Old Norse, or what's a French word, so those are this is what, like, the one time, like, Luke's wife asked him, like, what do you guys talk about on your hikes? I was like, this kind of stuff.
So those were definitely some things that I was interested in, but I'm very interested to hear about your guys's history of like American history, some topic that you might want to start off with, or I don't know. Apparently also the Dutch were the first to recognize the United States of America. So that was pretty interesting. There was another part that I was reading about, that the island of Saint Eustatius, which was a Dutch colony back in the day, actually held off most of the British troops. The British actually said that if the Dutch didn't have Saint Eustatius, nowadays it would still be a British colony.
Oh, interesting. No, I think it's interesting to see the history of things, not just the movement of peoples and culture, but also how it impacts language and place. Yeah, I guess I realized like Haarlem was like Haarlem in Holland, but I didn't realize so many of the other names also were from that time, because that was pretty early on in the history of New York City. Like we mentioned in one of the prior episodes, that song about the old New York was once New Amsterdam. That's the Might Be Giant song. If you guys haven't heard it, give it a listen. It's pretty good. But it's definitely an interest of mine. JP and I are both of immigrant descent. Our father came from Germany, and I've also thought the same thing about that kind of culture that's come over as well from various places. As you know, America has its native peoples, the First Nation people, and then also waves of immigrants coming, bringing their history and culture and language and fabric to our country. And it's just helped build what it is in the different areas, for better, for worse, with a lot of things that have happened. But looking back to see, I think it's just helps enrich kind of the fabric of our country to have people from all over. And you can see things around. Like I went last year to King's Day in San Francisco at one of the windmills in Golden Gate Park. It's the one day a year they turn the windmill on and they have a big festival. I think you've been to it as well in the past, where all the Dutch folks in San Francisco or the Bay Area come together and celebrate their King's Day and have like basically barbecues and hang out and have a good time. So how was that for you to be here in America and see a little bit of your culture like popping up? I see funny things around. Like one of my favorite ski runs in Colorado is called the Flying Dutchman at Keystone. So there's definitely, it's probably named after that ghost ship, but there's a lot of like stamps from different folks that have come here and helped build this country. So I don't know, what's that like for you to see?
Well, King's Day is a national holiday in Holland. It's the King's birthday, actually. The April 27th every year. So it's a big thing in Holland. Like you go into Amsterdam, you won't miss it because everyone's wearing orange. The entire city is like upside down. It's a whole different thing when you get there. And it's a whole lot of fun. And I feel like they recreated it a little bit because even the windmill where they have it in the Golden Gate Park is I think it's the Wilhelmina windmill, and which is named after our queen.
So explain to me the orange. What's the symbolism of the orange in Holland? Because I know your flag is red, white, and blue like ours, but like when your sports teams play, your skaters destroy everyone on the ice, they've all got orange on. What's the deal with the orange?
So that comes from our first king. We had a war for independence back in the 1800s, I want to say, which was William of Orange. So he was William of Orange Nassau. He was born in Germany. He made it to the Netherlands, and we have a couple of provinces. Back in those days, we had 7, and he combined all the provinces and fought the War of Independence, the 80-year war that we fought to get our independence from Spain. So we fought against them. He was also an heir of Orange, which is a township in France. That's where the orange comes from, and was still up until this day. Basically, the royal family is Orange Nassau, so it's still his bloodline that lives on, and that's why we wear orange.
So you can thank the French for your orange.
Yes.
Which we can thank you for. Like, well, what don't we have something here, Jordan? Like JP, like Dutch pancakes, or what do we have here? There's plenty of
Dutch brunch.
Definitely good stuff that we have brought over as well. That's funny. It's like the King of Sweden. His family's from France as well, I think. So the Bernadottes.
They're all related. At the end of the day, like King George V had his cousin, wasn't his cousin of Romanov or something like that. Like all of the European countries, they have.
They're all like
kings
cousins.
And queens that are cousins, all of them.
They definitely are, which, in America, of course, we don't really have that royalty, but we definitely, I don't know, I think like some of the English royalty, some of the biggest fans are in America these days, which is interesting, at least the, celebrity of it, so, which is kind of interesting.
Actually, I came upon the topic because I signed up with a organization in San Francisco that is like mentoring and helping entrepreneurs from the Netherlands in the Bay Area.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I came across that was that the king and queen are actually visiting.
Oh, really? When?
The 6th and 8th of September.
Are you going to say wave your flag and wear your orange?
So that was the thing. I signed up as a mentor for this organization, and they're going to have a speech from the king with the organization one of those days. So I'm trying to attend that That will be very cool.
Oh,
cool.
nice. That'll be awesome.
Take some pictures, and Jonathan will have to post those on the Instagram. One thing that I find that's interesting, which is kind of a commonality, is pride of country and pride of place. Americans are crazy. Yeah, we are. And we fly the flag all the time. That's not normal for most people to like have a flag of their nation in their yard all the time or whatnot. But when it comes to sports, oh my goodness. If you follow Formula One, Max Verstappen with Red Bull, it doesn't matter where in the world that race is. That stadium is full of orange, and that whole country is going nuts for that guy. And it's just crazy. Same thing when the Olympics hit. Swimmers, ice skaters, it doesn't matter. The Dutch are there, and they are in force and loud and proud. So it's really cool to see. And not a lot of countries are that involved with all aspects of supporting their athletes and their sports. And it's crazy to watch, and because they just dominate the Formula One track circuit, just as far as fandom goes. It's wild to see.
That's fun. Yeah. And I always find it very interesting to see like the heritage that's there, the things that we've discovered or the things that we've done, and we're still as relevant as we are in these days. Seeing the size of the country, because I think we fit like 500 times into America at least. And we have 17 million people, and to still have such a rich history, to be all over the world and still have something embedded into a country as this, as America, which, I mean, I love it here. I've been here for about 4 years now, and I find new things interesting every single day. There's history parts that I'm learning about and things that I just didn't know about, and there's such a rich history here, even though Europe is probably a lot older than America in a lot of ways, but there's a lot of history here and a lot of things that I think a lot of people can learn about, and I've grown from that, so I really appreciate that, and that's why I wanted to kind of like circle back to that as well. Is like, for you guys growing up here, you probably learn a lot more in school about American history, of course, because you're growing up here. Are there any topics, things that come to mind about American history that you guys want to share?
Well, I think it's interesting, like where JP and I grew up in Utah, there were a lot of folks that came from Europe due to the history of Utah and that region. And when folks immigrated there across the plains to the west, and there were folks from all over, from England, from Iceland, from Holland and Germany, and all throughout Europe, mostly early on, that were coming over, and you see those depictions like in old westerns of like the European immigrants coming in there, covered wagons and so on. So we kind of grew up with that big identity of like where we came from, because people were really proud of their heritage and where their people had come from, and people would trace that back. There's also a large, as you may be aware, like presence of Scandinavians and Germans and Dutch throughout the Midwest, like Wisconsin, Minnesota. I think most of the Dutch are in Michigan, Iowa, Illinois, Ohio, Wisconsin, those kind of areas through the Midwest, where the bulk of the folks settled, that immigrated. And they definitely leave their stamp there as the nation was growing, and moving out from the older, more populated East Coast, and people setting out on an adventure to claim and start a new life. And I've seen, and I don't know if you've ever been to any of these little towns where they kind of have clung on to their identity, like Lindborg in Kansas is a very Swedish town, and they kind of play it up for the tourists. And they have like New Braunfels in Texas is a German town. There's some in all throughout, sprinkled throughout the Midwest. In the West, there are these towns, or Solvang in Southern California by Santa Barbara. That was Danish.
Hey, so are you going to Swiss Days in a couple weeks?
I'm going to be up there in Utah for Labor Day. I fly on the Sunday.
Yeah, Swiss Days. Just another one of those. There's a town called Midway up in the mountains, it looks like you're up in the Alps, the Swiss
in
Alps.
Utah. And it's where a lot of the Swiss settlers went, and they have this big celebration every end of every summer called Swiss Days, and they have like booths and food and Swiss dancers and yodelers and all this stuff.
You know, and all the homes in town look like Swiss chalets.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
and
There's a big resort up there, the Zermatt Resort, with like there's hot springs there and stuff, and yeah, it's pretty cool.
Good stuff.
I will be going to that, I think,
Go up
possibly. I'll be up there in town anyway.
and get some brats or some schnitzel.
Some fondue. That's a good one.
Yeah. So-
Raclette.
Good stuff.
Raclette is so good.
Good
Oh my
stuff.
gosh. We need to make raclette sometime.
Yep.
It is so
Outside,
good.
not inside the house.
I know, right? Have you ever been to a Dutch type settlement in the Midwest, something like that? I'm just
I would
curious.
have to go. I haven't been, but I've heard and I follow a lot of like groups on Facebook that people post about there's the Netherlands or something, a town called the Netherlands, and they'll show and you see the architecture and it's back to that Amsterdam school architecture kind of thing. You see a lot of those things come by. There's even like I even read on like if you get like cheese at Safeway and it's like an American Gouda, they'll be made in like Pennsylvania or something like that, and in some the town named Amsterdam or something similar to that. So there's definitely some things there that I feel like I need to revisit and definitely go to.
Although the Pennsylvania Dutch are not Dutch, they're the German.
Deutsch.
They are the German, Amish folk. They are not. I don't know why they're called the Pennsylvania Dutch.
Deutsch. Deutsch.
Deutsch
From Deutsch.
became Dutch, right?
Yeah.
Yep, uh-huh.
But okay, I see where that came from. But people call it Dutch and get that mixed up.
No, I think it's really great that we have. I mean, because really everyone. I mean, America's not so old that anyone that lives here can trace their, apart from the First Nation people, back just a few generations. At some point someone was an immigrant, and those, I still think it's fresh enough that we hold very true and deep to some degree where we came from, and where our ancestors came from, because it's not that long, which is weird how America's been able to create this multicultural melting pot for a lot of people that consider themselves Americans, yet still hold very strongly to these original, basically Mother Nation origins, and really are proud of those heritages, but still assimilate. I think that's one thing that's very unique about America. It's the amount of people coming from all over, but identify first and foremost as an American, which is, I think, kind of a unique thing that you don't see all over the world. Whereas a lot of there's, and of course we have issues. We don't.
Everyone
back in the day, the Italians, we're wanted to come here. The Italians or every group has had theirs coming in, and our prejudices and all of those things that worked against people. But in the end, I think there's this optimism that just comes with this country where we can overcome this and we can become a people, which is really cool. And it's just something that, for the most part, I think we can be proud of. But at the same time, we still have a long way to go, for sure.
Oh yeah, I think that diversity is one of our greatest strengths. We really see that a lot here in the Bay Area. We have folks from all over, like Frida Kahlo, the Mexican artist, once said about San Francisco that it's the city of the world, is what she called it, which is true, because you had the Russian immigrants, the Hispanic neighborhood, the Italians, the Japantown, the Chinatown. You had like the Eastern Europeans, the Germans. Everyone had and then you had the local native folks as well. Everyone who was here, who all kind of like created a community in the same areas, in the same town, and worked together. And you can still see that effect today. And I think it just enriches our lives, especially all the culture and the food and the history and the people. And it's not without
even in the architecture, you could see Russian Orthodox churches if you walk through San Francisco.
Oh yeah, you go through the Richmond, the old Russian neighborhood, you still see like the Onion Dome churches. You see like the old Mission down in Mission. You see the Italian influence on North Beach. Like it's just kind of a microcosm of the whole country. because you do see a lot of that across the whole country, from from Maine to like Southern California and Seattle to Florida. You see a variety, and the history like kind of helps us become who we are today, right? And so we're in danger if we forget that history, where we're from, whether it's your personal family history or who was here first before us, that we respect those traditions, as well as what we bring to the table when we come to a new area, because this is also a country where people are always on the move as well, right? So, I didn't grow up in San Francisco, but I definitely have enjoyed my path and my journey to be here and what I can bring to this community and what it gives to me. I think we definitely have to learn from that history and add to it, I think that's important, whether you're from Holland like Luke, or from Utah like us, or like Germany like our father, JP, my dad, came from there. So there's quite the journey that we can all learn from.
Yeah, and I find it very interesting to come back to something Jordan was saying. I don't think there's a country in the world where 23andMe would work as well as in America, because people here, they really embrace their heritage. Like, I know that probably in Europe, a lot of the people are probably been there for generations and things like that. So they don't even think about it. Even myself, I haven't looked up my family tree just to see where we're from or anything like that. I know I had a great aunt from Germany somewhere, but nobody's really interested in that. And I feel like that is pretty unique about America, is that you love that heritage, but still you're one country. Like if you chant USA anywhere, everyone will start joining you in your chant. Like that doesn't really happen. There's a patriotism, even though there's a big heritage from other cultures and other parts of the world where you're from. I think that's something to definitely, applaud.
Oh, it's
Um,
definitely, yeah. I've asked some friends about the 23andMe from Europe. Like, well, what did yours say? It's like, well, it said Sweden. It's like, okay, where they were from. It's like the family hasn't moved much in hundreds of years. But for ours, I've got like the English, the Danish, the German, some Scandinavian. So the variety of places where, like, my mom's side, my dad's side, different places. And the history, and even I have a buddy. He once told me he's African American, and he'd done his family history as back as the records would allow him, back to the to the slavery time. But he was able to at least see where his family, what region in Africa his family came from, which gave him a lot of pride and comfort, knowing like the region and the cultures and the history of where his people were from, which is pretty amazing. And I think no matter where you're from, we're all just a part of this nation and can be joined together and add to it. I think that's pretty great.
Agreed. And I see it in the workplace as well. Like if I go to work, I'm working with people from Hong Kong. I work with people from India. I work with people from Russia, and they're all working there, collaborating together. Nobody's having it out with each other. Even countries that are fighting with each other. India and Pakistan. My wife is from Pakistani descent. Um, she has friends here that are from India. Those kind of things, all of those borders that we usually have in the world and where we are fighting with each other, it stops. As soon as you get to a country and you have to live together, all of a sudden, none of those things matter anymore. We're here, we're just working, we're surviving together, and we're proud to be where we're from. And we love America in every way, shape, or I think that's a great thing.
Yeah.
I don't see that all over the place.
And not to say that we're without our problems, for sure, as we know, but the main thing is to focus on how we can build and come together. I think is important. And what was the thing I was thinking about? Oh, I wanted to ask you. So now that you've been here a few years, and there's been some Dutch cultures that's helped build America quite a bit and things, but let me ask you, what thing do you think we missed out on that should have come over? Whether it's a food item or something from Holland that you're missing.
All of the food items. No, it's funny. There's a Dutch store in San Jose, so I still get some of my, some of the sweets and the goodies that I miss from back home.
Black licorice. Americans don't understand the joy of black licorice.
Nope, nope. Uh, but there's definitely things that there's one thing that I wish I could get here. Now I have to make it myself, sort of. There's a kind of like a mystery meat, and I think you guys from your German heritage might know it as well.
Don't bring
Frikandel,
up, what is it?
frikandel.
Frikandel. That sounds so familiar. Explain it more. They might call it something different.
So it's basically minced meat, and it's mostly mystery meat, but there's some chicken in there, some beef in there. I don't know what else is in there. We never asked. And then
No, this is new to me. How can I have been to Amsterdam many times and have not tried this? I'm looking this up right now.
that's definitely one thing. And
Oh, wait.
it's deep fried. It's deep fried, so it's like a bar of meat.
I
deep
had this when I
fried.
was in Amsterdam last time in the little place where you pull it out of the.
Yeah, and that's the other segue I wanted to go to is
Oh.
a store called Febo, Febo.
Yeah, that's
And
where I
it's,
went.
It's named after Ferdinand Bol, which was a poet back in the day, but that's a street name in Amsterdam, Ferdinand Bolstraat, where this store started. This is a nationwide franchise. This is the McDonald's of Holland. And it's so funny. It's an entire wall, basically a vending machine of sorts, where they put in every slot, they put in food. They put in hamburgers, they put in frikandel, they put in croquette. Croquette is a ragu, which is has breadcrumbs on the outside or panko, and then deep fried as well. So it's very yummy. It's veal, so everyone can have it.
It's all deep fried, right? So how can you go wrong?
Yeah. And well, our southern neighbors, Belgium, started the French fries, so we're pretty good at making French fries as well. That's funny. Always, I always think it's funny that they call it French fries because it has nothing to do with France, except for maybe the cut of the potato. That's why I always think it comes from, because it's a julienne cut, and julienne is a French name, so maybe that's how they came up with French fries. That's not from any book or a reference or Wikipedia. That's just
Knowledge according to Luke.
brain fart of my own. But yeah, so French fries. This was a tradition with my dad. We would every Friday. Mom was out working, and me and him would be at home, and we would get a frikandel, a croquette, and some French fries. And we have these little frying pans at home. It's the like the actual the industrial ones that you see with the net, and it's just the machine that you just plug in. It's electric, and it just deep fries the stuff, and it's yummy. It's not good for you, but it's yummy. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a German thing at all. I've never seen a frikandel in Germany. Just when I was in Amsterdam.
Okay,
But you can claim that one.
that's good.
No, but I need to try this. I'm just looking at photos of them right now. They look amazing. And I'm seeing that they're sliced a lot of times. I don't know if this is normal. The pictures I'm seeing, they can be sliced down the middle lengthwise and stuffed with like onions, and then looks like
Mayonnaise and
mayonnaise
ketchup.
and ketchup on top. And then some of them say or a curry ketchup on it.
Yeah, curry ketchup
And
is the best.
The
though.
curry equivalent
yum.
of, I guess, of a currywurst. Oh, yum. This looks
The
great.
Berlin curryverse is a favorite of mine. It's so good.
I've been robbed on all my trips to Amsterdam. I was missing out.
You should have
I'll
spoken with
order
Luke
some.
first.
I'll order some. There's some Dutch stores that you can get them online, and then you can get them sent to your house for a little surcharge. But it's pretty good food. I don't get it. I've been to a Dutch store here. Their frikandel was not as good, unfortunately. But yeah, if I find the correct ones, I'll definitely send you guys a little ping.
Oh yeah,
So you can try them out.
I'd love to try it. And I do see stroop waffles quite a bit now these days everywhere. The really thin waffles with like pressed with caramel in between.
Yep.
And I guess they used to put those over their cup of coffee or tea or something and melt the caramel and then eat it in the morning.
Really
That's
good.
something I see a lot of these days. Other influences, of course, that we know of course, your major export tulips are all over. And they have like tulip festivals up in in Washington, I think up near Seattle, they have a big tulip festival where they grow them up there as well. But it's definitely a well-known Dutch thing. But it's definitely more
big
than
export.
clogs and storks, you know.
Another big export is cheese, of course.
Oh yeah, how could you go wrong?
Yeah, and the good part is you can get the good stuff here. I've bought some in America, imported, of course, but it's still old Amsterdam. If you look it up, that's like my favorite cheese. My
Old
favorite
Amsterdam, it's
Amsterdam.
called.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, I'll look it up. I mean, I love the. I mean, I'm gonna say the American way, the Gouda, but Gouda Casa, is really good, especially like the smoked Gouda. It's just a distinct flavor. You're not going to get any other cheese. Amazing stuff. Love it. I mean, how can you go wrong with cheese, right?
So I've got like German immigrants bring like Oktoberfest to the US. Do they do like Oktoberfest in Europe outside of Germany?
Not in the way the Germans do. Let's just say that. I know there's like some celebrations around that time in Amsterdam. You can go and find it. It won't be Lederhosen. It won't be big steins and a lot of beers, but still people enjoy themselves. They make their own little thing out of it.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
it won't be as grand as in Bavaria.
Because like in Utah, you go to a snowbird and you go to Oktoberfest. It's
a big tent and the big music
every
and
weekend for however many weeks. Everyone walking around in lederhosen, lots of beer and lots of brats and lots of good food. Get my spätzle and all the good things. Oh, is that not the best?
So good.
Gravy on it. Oh.
So you mean, Luke, they don't have wiener dog racing like they did at the one I went to in Denver?
No, they don't. No, that's fun though.
Pretty amazing.
Pretty cool.
So, I mean, I don't know, our history view growing up here, I'm sure a lot of American history you hear a bit over there, but it's a little different from our perspective. But I don't know. I think it's just that whole image of all of this coming together because it is such a melting pot, whether it's the from Western Europe or Asia or, South America, anywhere in the world, folks have made their way here and left their imprint. And I think that's added to our history, whether it be food items or culturally or the people. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? Building our communities, learning from each other.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. And I think it's a very rich thing to have as a country, that you have so many cultures, but you're still like living together and assimilating and keeping that history alive and keeping that heritage alive. A lot of like Polish people as well, Italians, and they brought all their food too, and it became synonymous with America. Like pizza is synonymous with America nowadays, even though it came from Italy. Of course, we're not going to say it's not from Italy, but it has become its own thing. Like you can go to Europe and you can find New York pizza or Domino's everywhere.
We tend to Americanize a few things, when they get here. So they may have its origin elsewhere, but it definitely becomes its own unique thing here as well, which is great. That's fine, right? And it's just becomes a new experience. I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember back in my house when I was growing up, they said that Americans, and I don't want to offend anyone, but they said Americans don't have a culture like on its own. What is American culture? Like if you go to Dutch, you can go back to like clocks, you can go back to cheese, you can go back to
baseball and apple pie, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So they always said like there's not much of their own, except maybe a hamburger or something when it comes to food. That was actually invented here, But all of the origins that come back to other places, maybe a hot dog or a hamburger, but these things are still, to me, and I've been here for 4 years, I think they were wrong.
They haven't listened to jazz.
Exactly. If you go back and you find a lot of things coming back to like America, definitely jazz, baseball, American football. There's a lot of things that you can find here. And I think a lot of European countries can learn from that, especially when it comes to sports, because your guys are great supporters, way better than some of the European ones. At least there's no like destruction at the end of the game,
Right.
which happens in some of the European countries, and even the South American countries. Like that's just what happens. I know it has to do with passion. It has to do a lot with that, but it's pretty good to see. And I went to a Dolphins game back in last year in Miami, and it was funny. They were playing the Giants, and you just see everyone sitting together. And the guy that's for the Giants is sitting next to a Dolphin supporter, and they're just egging each other on, and it's just fun, and it's still friendship, and they're still like, give me a high five if the other team scored. And of course, there's not a high five being given, but there's still fun and games, Doesn't happen, in Holland, you get separated as supporters.
And sometimes you'll see it here in the same families, even you'll have different hats on.
It's so funny. Actually, a coworker of mine who's big into soccer, he's a Liverpool fan, and his son is a Manchester United fan. Who are
Rivalries.
clashing next week on Monday, so that's gonna be fun. Fun time at home.
Awesome. Well, I think that's kind of the takeaway from this is the fact that we all came from somewhere and we all brought something with us, whether our family or ourselves. And it is important to know where we came from and also what has helped our communities become what they are. Who are the people that came before? What were their lives like? What were their struggles? What were their hopes and dreams? And it's probably very similar to ours. Just remember that as you see your neighbors, those are folks that also have stories and histories that we can all learn from and come together. So, Luke, that's such a great topic. Give us a lot to think about. Cool to think about some of the Dutch origins of New York and some of those places. Take a look around your neighborhood and see, what are some of the origins of things around you? Street names, foods, places, people. You'd be surprised what you can learn. And definitely reach out to us. Give us your thoughts on the socials. We would love to hear from you. Like I said, at SBCK Podcast or our website, sbckpodcast.com. Give us a shout out. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know what else we would like to hear us talk about. Again, thank you. My name is Jonathan.
I'm Luke.
And come rain or shine, I'm JP.
All right. Get the quote in there.
Bye-bye.
Peace out.